We're kind of obsessed with genius, right? That three-digit number, the IQ score, it's become our cultural shorthand for brilliance. We see a high score and we immediately think, wow, that person's got it made. But what if that number, the one we put so much faith in, isn't really the key to a successful life at all? What if it's just one small part of a much bigger and frankly more interesting story? For decades, we've really bought into this idea that a genius level IQ is like a golden ticket, the one that unlocks the best schools, the best jobs, the absolute best life. It just feels right, doesn't it? That the smartest person in the room should win. But what if our intuition is leading us down the wrong path? So let's just ask the question straight up. Does being a certified genius automatically mean your life is going to be filled with achievement and happiness? Or is there a lot more to the equation than we think? Well, to find a real answer, we have to look at actual lives. And lucky for us, one of the longest studies in history did exactly that. Back in 1921, a psychologist named Lewis Terman found 1,500 child geniuses in California. These were kids with IQs over 140. He nicknamed them the termites, and he decided to track them for their entire lives to see if their genius would really guarantee greatness. I mean, this was the ultimate test. But the results, decades and decades later, were absolutely stunning, and not in the way Terman expected. The lives of his so-called geniuses looked, well, surprisingly average. Their rates of divorce and even suicide were basically the same as the national average. A whole lot of them felt crushed by the weight of their own potential, reporting this constant feeling of failure. So much for that golden ticket, right? The study's conclusion was unmistakable. Raw intelligence and real-world success are just not the same thing. So this forces us to ask a really tough question. What if having a high IQ isn't just less of an advantage than we all thought? What if, in some ways, it can actually be a burden? The writer Ernest Hemingway, who was obviously a brilliant but also a deeply troubled person, seemed to know this. He once said, "Happiness in intelligent people is the rarest thing I know." And yeah, the whole tortured genius thing is a bit of a cliche, but there's a real truth behind it. Being brilliant can come with some very unique and difficult struggles. So what are these struggles? Well, for starters, there's the crushing weight of expectation from family, from teachers, and maybe worst of all, from themselves. Then there's this weird phenomenon called a bias blind spot. Super smart people can become experts at spotting the flaws in other people's thinking while being completely blind to their own. Research also shows that high IQ groups report way higher rates of mood and anxiety disorders. And all of this can lead to a crippling perfectionism, this paralyzing fear of looking stupid that can make it terrifying to even try something new. This can lead to a fascinating condition called clever sillies. It's a term for brilliant people who are, well, surprisingly lacking in basic common sense. They tend to overanalyze everyday social problems, trying to apply complex logic to situations that really just need simple human intuition. I mean, imagine trying to use game theory to figure out how to comfort a grieving friend. It's the wrong tool for the job, and it can do way more harm than good. So if IQ isn't the key, what are we missing? It's time to bring in the first huge piece of the puzzle: emotional intelligence, or as you probably know it, EQ. What is emotional intelligence? Well, simply put, it's about being smart about feelings. It's the ability to see what you're feeling and why, to manage those emotions so they don't control you, and, this is key, to understand and influence the emotions of the people around you. And you can actually break EQ down into 5 core skills. It all starts with self-awareness, just understanding your own emotions. From there, you can develop self-regulation to manage those feelings. Then comes motivation, that inner drive to get things done. That helps you build empathy, the ability to really understand what others are feeling. And finally, all of these combine into social skills, which help you build strong relationships. And here's the best part. These are all skills you can actually learn and get better at. Here's a really simple way to think about it. The person with a high IQ, they're the one who can build the most complex, perfectly designed spreadsheet you've ever seen. But the person with high EQ, they're the one who can get the entire team excited to actually use it, who can navigate the client's unspoken worries, and who can ultimately close the deal. One isn't necessarily better, but they are powerful in totally different arenas. But the story doesn't end with just IQ versus EQ. To get a truly complete picture of what makes people successful, we need to add one more critical layer to this. This is where psychologist Robert Sternberg comes in. He argued that to really understand success out there in the real world, we need to stop thinking about intelligence as just one thing. He believed it was three distinct, equally important parts. He called it the triarchic theory of successful intelligence. So Sternberg's theory has three parts. First, you've got analytical intelligence. That's your classic book smarts, the stuff that IQ tests are so good at measuring. Second is creative intelligence, your ability to come up with new ideas and just see things differently. And third, and this is a big one, there's practical intelligence, what you and I would call street smarts. This is that crucial ability to apply what you know to solve real-world, everyday problems. And here's the really powerful part. Studies show that practical intelligence is an incredible predictor of success. A key piece of it is something called tacit knowledge. That's all the unspoken rules, the know-how that you can only learn on the job. You know, things like knowing who to talk to get a project approved, or how to read the room in a tense meeting. And as you can see right here in this chart, your grasp of this tacit knowledge can predict your job performance even better than your IQ score can. It's the kind of intelligence that no textbook can ever teach you. So, after all this, where does that leave us? Well, it's pretty clear that we need to completely redefine what it actually means to be smart. And the ultimate takeaway is this. True success isn't about having the most of one kind of intelligence. It's not about being off the charts in just one area. It's about balance. It's about learning how to cultivate and combine your analytical, your creative, and your practical skills. You need the book smarts to understand a problem, the creativity to imagine a new solution, and the street smarts to actually make that solution happen in the real world. Okay, so let's boil it all down. If you're going to take away anything from all this, let it be these three things. Number one, a high IQ is not a golden ticket to success or happiness, period. Number two, emotional skills, EQ, are not soft skills. They are absolutely critical for navigating our social world. And number three, truly successful intelligence is all about finding a balance of analytical, creative, and practical skills. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. In our schools, in our jobs, in our culture as a whole, which of these different kinds of intelligence do we value the most? And maybe more importantly, which one should we?